All right. Good evening, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to the Fruita City Council meeting. The time is now 7:02 p.m. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Deb, would you please call roll?
Councilor Bremen.
Here.
Councilor Purser.
Here.
Councilor Williams.
Yes.
Councilor Cry.
Here.
Councilor Miller.
Here.
And Councilor Hansi is excused absent.
All right. We're going to move into our moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. If you please stand with us. We'd like to take the opportunity to allow a moment of silence for all faiths and beliefs, the opportunity for a silent prayer. Thank you. If you'd please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we got an agenda before us. Are there any changes to that agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the agenda as before us.
Second. All right, we've got a first and a second. No other questions? All right, hearing none, would you please poll council?
Councilor Bremen.
Yes.
Councilor Purser.
Yes.
Councilor Williams.
Yes.
Councilor Cry.
Aye.
Councilor Miller.
Affirmative.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, we're gonna move into our proclamations and presentations tonight. We've got one presentation tonight, and it's for our MOU with the Business Incubator Center, and we've got our city manager, Mike Bennett, and then also we've got the executive director, Delita Boleg, here to present. So I don't know who's starting.
Yeah, Delita is going to give an update on the Business Incubator Center. And so we're grateful to have the CEO of the Western Colorado Business Development Corporation, or otherwise, as we refer to often as the BIC or the Business Incubator Center. So she's going to give an update on the things that they're working on, which plays right into what our MOU represents, is the relationship we have with the Business Incubator Center, and which expands into many different services that they provide and coordination that we do together. So after her update, I'll talk a little bit about the MOU and ask for action on the MOU. But first, we'll have an update by Delita.
Okay.
Lord, I hope this works.
You just have to talk loud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all. I'm very excited. This is the first time I present here, and it's so nice to see all of the Fruita City Council and the Mayor Connect, all of you here tonight. So should I just share the screen? Okay. Here we go. Is it working?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the Business Incubator Center today and how we provide services to Mesa County and the city of Fruita. But in general, just wanted to start with a quote that I really like by Peter Drucker. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And I believe that that's something that we align in. The city of Fruita is creating a great future for the citizens of Fruita and the surrounding areas. And BIC has that as a mission to help provide economic development and create ecosystems for small businesses in Mesa County. We do that through our programs, and it is 8 programs. You see 7 of them there because the 8th one is fairly new. So with these programs, we create impact in our community through promoting economic development through these programs. And it is coaching, consulting, workshops. It is by providing space through a commercial kitchen or manufacturing space or services space or co-working space. It is through tax incentives or incentives through the state with OEDIT and the enterprise zone, specifically with the administrator being at BIC, and through tooling and prototyping with the makerspace, and in order to help with the seeds of innovation, and through funding by the Business Loan Fund, or by leveraging loans by collaborating with local banks and funding entities to come in as a gap funder or a leverage funder. So our mission, we started about 37 years ago with the mission to help promote economic development and help move away from the boom and bust that had been plaguing our area for a long time, and to help launching startups and businesses that are expanding into the area with the support and the resources that they need so that they can establish and be stable, and so that that can create growth and create jobs and form capital for our region. And with that mission still intact, we work very hard in making sure that all of our initiatives are helping create growth and create new jobs and form capital, not just circulate dollars, but bring in new dollars into our areas. So last year, and I gave a few of the annual report books that we have. But last year, we helped create 421 new jobs in Mesa County. And that number is important because Mesa County is about 2% of all of Colorado's population, but 11% of all of the startups happened here in Mesa County. And that's extremely important for our area to understand that we are a very pioneering and very startup-friendly region. We like startups. We like to provide areas for startups. A lot of our businesses are either a small business or they rely on support through one another, through a network of startups. And these are just little tidbits, numbers from the annual report. We've had 71 businesses on campus, the big campus in Orchard Mesa. We've had 15 companies leave the Business Incubator Center into the community. So we call it graduate, but it's not really a diploma graduation like university, but it is graduating into the community from our programs. And we've helped 369 clients. These are either people coming to us with an idea to start a business or people who are already in business out in the community, but need help with specific things, either scaling up or they are needing funding or they have a new hurdle that they need to figure out how to bypass that. And so we help them with the subject matter experts that we have at the incubator. 26 new startups. These are new businesses that joined us, and then we helped form these businesses into LLCs that get registered into the community and then establish with brick and mortar. And then 136 jobs retained. These are usually the jobs that are retained by the business owners themselves. And then we gave 22 business loan funds, totaling $1.84 million, and helped create about $3.7 million in capital formation. These are outside dollars that infused our communities. And our clients, so the 369 clients, sold for $12.41 million. So I'm not sure if you're interested in the overall numbers. You can find them in the books that you have in front of you. But I wanted to just kind of pass by through these numbers and show you Fruita specific numbers, because I think that that would be more interesting to the City Council. So year to date in 2023, we have helped about 56 hours of consulting with the SBDC. That's 27 clients, 27 businesses in Fruita. We have had 70 hours of what we call open house or satellite office hours out here with all of our 7 programs represented. It is usually the first week of every month where each day we have one of our program directors out here at FWorks meeting with the clients and making sure that people in small businesses out here in Fruita can see the resources available to them and can meet with the directors and be able to schedule to their needs. At FWorks, we have about 17 desks, and in January 2024, we'll have 2 additional desks because we're adding a few study carrels. So that will increase the capacity by 2 additional. So with that said, we have given year-to-date 3 loans, but that's directly from the Business Incubator Center, the Business Loan Fund, but also helped leverage $1.1 million in funds by being a gap funder or a leverage funder, with the bank being coming in as first. And so without those funds, these businesses might not have been able to receive that funding. And so we would be able to come in and be that gap funder or leverage funder so that these businesses can create the prosperity in the area and the growth that they need to in Fruita. With the enterprise zone, business investments have registered year to date $10.8 million in business investments, and about 22,000 in investment tax credits. So the enterprise zone tax credits, it is still ongoing right now. So we won't see the last numbers until January 2024, because a lot of the people who are pre-certified for this year might not actually do their taxes until later next year. So I'm happy to bring you updated numbers in 2024, but I wanted you to see year to date how Fruita is doing through the Business Incubator Center programs. So at the Business Incubator Center, we have 18 volunteers that are subject matter experts, coaches, board members that have spent about over 900 hours in coaching, consulting, and that's free and confidential, which is equivalent to about $45,000 in kind. We rely a lot on these subject matter experts. They are community members that provide expertise in areas like accounting, it could be law, and sometimes very specialized areas such as property, intellectual property. And a lot of times when a business comes to the incubator and requests a certain subject matter expert, if we don't have that person, we will go out and find that person so that that business can feel that their need is met and that they can be seen by that expert and have the information that they need to go about their business. So year to date, about 50% of the businesses that we've seen have been startups, but about another 50% have been already existing businesses out in the community. And year to date, 525 new jobs have been created through one or several of our programs, and these are direct new jobs. And then right now at the Business Incubator Center, we have 72 small businesses on campus. The small businesses on campus has to be startups. So these are all startups. And then 40% of the loan fund clients are minority. And we utilize OEDIT's definition for what a minority is, and it could be underserved communities, or it could be female population, veteran populations, or Native Americans. That was all I had for presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
No, I think it's a great organization. I worked half my career for a company that started there and went on to do great things. So you guys are doing good things down there, and I appreciate you doing the work you do.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll turn it over to Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're taking it easy on you tonight.
All right. I want to thank Delita for that update and more importantly for the partnership we have with the Business Incubator Center. It's been a long-standing partnership, and Delita's been awesome to work with since she started. And we, as you know, this year, one of our goals in our strategic plan was to update MOUs with GJEP and the Business Incubator Center. And we've done that with GJEP at a previous meeting. And tonight we're here to look over the MOU that's in your packet with the Business Incubator Center. Part of the goal for both of those was to really just define the existing relationship that we have, so that as we move forward and as new opportunities come about, we have something to amend, either in addition to, or if there's ever any changes, we know what our current relationship is, because we had an outdated MOU with the Incubator Center, and we did not have an MOU with GJEP. So it was time to do that. And then as you all gave direction recently, and I imagine through the first quarter of next year, we'll be doing the same with the Fruita Area Chamber of Commerce. As you'll notice in this MOU, like the GJEP MOU, and what'll be similar for sure in the draft with the chamber, is that we are going to start in 2024 our quarterly meetings with myself and the CEOs of those agencies and other staff and community members as necessary based on the agenda to better coordinate all of our efforts, because there's sometimes overlapping or coordinated efforts that or efforts that are similar that we need to coordinate and make sure we're doing our best when it comes to economic development in the city. The Business Incubator Center has been a pivotal partner in economic development, maybe even the agency that's participated more in economic development as an outside agency than any other in the city's history, through the wide array of services that they provide that are listed in that. I'm not going to read them, but they run from the loan programs. So there's a specific Fruita loan program that we have, and we have a separate agreement for that, to all the other loan programs that the incubator administers. Even during the COVID-19 pandemic, when we were quickly trying to utilize funding that was coming through the federal and state governments to make loans to small businesses, we didn't have to figure out how to suddenly administer loans, because the business incubator was able to say, we can do that for you, and immediately, and we were able to just start it immediately. And it's that type of partnership that is wonderful to have. They also, with the enterprise zone, with coaching, with trainings, not only in addition to their loans or their loan programs, but often when we are working with businesses, even if it's a new business that we may be working with GJEP, there's often programs that those new businesses are interested in that the incubator will actually administer and walk the company through. And more importantly, as our threefold goal, our threefold approach with economic development that's in the Fruita comprehensive plan that works on business retention, business startup, and expansion, and then new business, highly emphasizes the startups and business expansion of existing businesses. And that fully falls within the business incubators role and support that they provide. We've had many businesses that have started up in Fruita with the assistance of the business incubator, whether it's through training and loans or one or the other. The MOU is set up, one with kind of a twofold purpose in defining our relationship. One, we have the outdated MOU that reflects the space that we provide. It's the same space we provide now, with the addition of a shared meeting room that the incubator has made improvements for that benefits us as well. But the old MOU that we had dated in 2013 was set up for simply a satellite office and program. And then since then, we've converted that into the co-working space, largely because it's valuable space that was utilized periodically when it was a satellite office. And so we looked at how can we utilize this more effectively through the co-working space, but not lose the opportunity to do the same trainings and classes and individual coaching sessions with businesses in Fruita. And so there was a lot of emphasis on the co-working when it first started, and the incubator's management of that has kind of come back around to doing both. So with the meeting room space, it serves a few purposes. We get to use it here at the city when we need a meeting room. The people that work in FWorks, if they need a conference room, can schedule it, and everybody can schedule at the same place. But it also serves as that spot for the trainings, even outside groups like the chamber to be able to reserve it for coffee groups and things like that. So you'll see that there's the list of it, and I'm sorry. So this replaces the 2013 MOU to define what the purpose is now and the uses are now, refers to the agreement that's still in place related to the loan program. And then it lists out the services that the economic development services that the incubator will do that we've already covered. And then the coordinated efforts that the city and the incubator will do together And also, which includes the quarterly meetings and includes the regular reporting to each other and reports from Delita to the city council. And then it also covers the co-working space and how that operates. Delita has a staff member, Joe Elliott, who is our contact for the F-Works, and he is always in contact with us, and we're able to contact him if we have, you know, a building closure or anything like that. We share the somewhat of the security and locking system to the building, but there's separations on who can use what. And that's been a major improvement for this facility as well. And then again, the section that I mentioned, collaboration and reporting. So the terms is that this continues, but is either group like our other MOUs can for really any reason could end the MOU. But with this one, we do have 120 days written prior notice because this is much different than just when you're sharing facilities. There's got to be some assurance that if there were a change, there's still a responsible amount of time to give notice and things like that, and work together. It also allows for, like our other MOUs with our partners, that they can make funding requests. Right now, this free space is in lieu of a funding request, but if they were to make a request, it's just like the GJEP MOU, that would be subject to the budget process with the city council. So it's not binding you to any future funding sources or funding requests that may come. I think that's it. And we'd recommend approval. The recommendation is to approve myself as a city manager to be able to sign the agreement. We did receive a signed agreement from the Business Incubator Center yesterday. So we do have their portion signed of the same draft that you have in your packet. And I think either of us can take any questions you may have in the MOU.
I guess I'll ask one question. So you said, I know that the other agreement with the business loan fund, how much do we fund on that a year? Because that's a little, it's just resolving from what we.
Yeah, so it was a one-time funding of the city of, I believe, $30,000 years ago. And then that has been loaned out, paid back, loaned out, paid back, interest, different.
So is there no administration fee?
So there's no, we are not paying an ongoing administration fee currently. And we're not adding funding to it.
Okay. You'll have to talk into the mic because if anybody online won't be able to hear. Yeah.
And that goes in its entirety only to Fruita-based businesses. So they have to either have their location here in Fruita and be registered as a Fruita-based individual or small business. So when they come to us and request funding, those funds revolve. So we've already turned that fund several times. I know that right now we have about $235,000 lent out to businesses out in Fruita through 3 loans. And we have about $400,000 in requests that we are looking at before the end of the year. So the amount that we initially received was $60,000.
Yeah, it was before both of our time.
Yeah.
It was below 100,000, and we've turned those funds many times over since.
Anybody else have any questions?
Just what a great partnership. This is so amazing. So, yeah.
All right, then do we have a motion?
I move to approve the MOU with the BIC directing the city manager to sign the MOU.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Deb, would you please poll council?
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Counselor Cry.
Aye.
Counselor Miller.
Yes.
Counselor Bremen.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, thanks, Dolita, for being here. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. We will, if you
Oh,
want.
no, you don't have
Yeah.
to do
You don't have to do that.
We twist arms so we get a full hug. All right, with that.
Go enjoy your evening.
With that, we're going to move into our public participation. So this section is set aside for the city council to listen to comments by the public regarding items that do not appear on the agenda. Generally, the city council will not take any action on these items. So is there anybody in the audience that'd like to speak on something that's not on the agenda? All right, hearing none, we'll close public participation and move into our consent agenda. So these are items where all conditions or requirements have been agreed to or met prior to the time they come before council for final action. They'll all be approved by one single motion of the council. So we're going to open the consent agenda up to public comment. If there's anybody in the audience that'd like to speak on something on the consent agenda, now is your opportunity. All right, hearing none, we'll close consent and bring it back to council. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the consent agenda?
I'll have to recuse myself from item C.
Item C, all right. Any other questions?
In regards to item C, just for clarity and full transparency, I saw that it was really, the contract is put together really well. It has percentages of what goes where, and that's fantastic. Does the city then receive receipts and like proof of how those funds are all actually allocated at the end of the day?
Yeah, my understanding is the invoices come in broken down that way, or we have to get that information to make sure before we process. So
Any other questions or comments? All right, do we have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as before us.
Second.
I've got a first and a second. Any other comments? Hearing none, Deb, would you please poll council?
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Counselor Cry,
Aye.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Bremen,
Yes.
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
All right, and then on our consent agenda, we did have one new board and commission appointment, and that was for Carly Burnett for the Arts and Culture Board. She isn't here tonight, but we just wanted to thank those members that are applying to our boards and able to serve our community.
Phenomenal.
Just wanted to let everybody know about that. So with that,
My call to action.
Oh, you're claiming credit on that. I see what.
I can show you the message.
all right, with that, we're gonna keep
We'll take
moving.
credit
We're
for
gonna keep moving between you two. You can arm wrestle after the meeting. So we've got two legislative hearings tonight. And so our first one is resolution 2023-35. It's a budget amendment, and we've got our assistant city manager, Shannon Vossen, here to present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, for the opportunity to present. As you stated, Shannon Vossen, Assistant City Manager, and the resolution before you tonight, 2023-35, is a supplemental appropriation of funds in the General Fund, the Conservation Trust Fund, the Capital Projects Fund, and the Trash Fund for capital projects, equipment, and special projects. As with any supplemental appropriation, I like to put a table on the bottom of the sheet. And there's kind of a lot going on this table, just because for the transfers to the Capital Projects Fund, we have to appropriate money in order to then transfer the money to the Capital Projects Fund. But really there's four items on the supplemental budget amendment. The first is that the Arts and Culture Board has raised funds to honor the artists that have been chosen for the Heart of Fruita display. This budget amendment appropriates those dollars. They can pay for expenses related to installation of those pieces, but also a award to the artists that were chosen. We also have a bench that someone would like to buy and donate to Snook's Bottom as a memorial to someone. So this appropriates $1,500 in general fund to purchase that bench, pay local artist Jeff Bates to create it, and then place it at Snook's Bottom. And then for our capital projects fund, we have $1.15 million that will be appropriated for the Reed Park project. This is done through a few sources as kind of outlined in this table. The first is a contribution from the general fund, our unassigned fund balance in the amount of $415,000. We have a contribution from the Conservation Trust Fund, the amount of $325,000. And then we have ARPA funds, which is the American Rescue Plan, which actually have to be appropriated by the end of next year, but spent by 2026 per federal guidelines in the amount of $410,000 to get us to the 1.15. This is a project that's been on the books for 2 years now. We went through extensive design of the actual park and of the skate park. After the first budget was low, we amended it. We got a grant to help pay for the skate park and the playground. By the time we finally went out to bid, the project's going to be around $2.6 million overall. We have 1.6 in the budget currently, so this appropriates the gap in funding between the two. The total bid came back at 2.15 million. There are non-bid items like the playground, the mini pitch, and then the north shelter, a few other things. So that's why you'll see the bid amount at 2.15, then we have non-contract items. So with these funding sources, we can get to that amount. We can get them under contract and the project hopefully complete by sometime next year. And they can get started as early as next year, as far as I've been told as well. Finally, I'm very good at underestimating how much we'll receive in trash fees. So this appropriates $20,000 in trash collection fees to be spent on trash collection charges. This is a pass-through fee. So each year we just kind of do a little cleanup on some of our enterprise funds, and this is doing that. Always happy to answer any questions, but I will stop there and let you open up to public comment. Thank you.
All right, with that, we're going to open this up to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that'd like to speak on this item? All right, hearing none, I'll close public comment and bring it back to council. Does anybody have any questions on any of these items? Go ahead, Matthew.
I feel like an adult because I've read through this trash thing. Like, I'm confused by it, so I apologize.
Oh, yeah.
We underestimated the revenue that we'd receive.
Yeah.
And so this is just that gap. And that's for things like when we did electronics and.
Yeah, this is.
Special projects, is that where that?
Yeah. The special projects is for the Arts and Culture Board. Special projects is a category in our budget. So everything that's 4,800 level expense is special projects.
I was talking about the trash.
Yeah. So this is purchase services. So we had our cleanup, which we used some money for, but also we estimated I think 75 new customers for trash this year. We've went above that already, and people are also adding like an additional bins for trash. Maybe they converted to the 96-gallon container already. So this just appropriates dollars for us to spend on those charges as part of that. It's just a little bit of cleanup. Any money we don't receive, we won't spend because it's just a pass-through fee. But yeah, I try to make that clear. Now that I read it, it's probably not the most clear, but yeah, we get the fees and then pay for those charges with those fees. Yeah.
For the clarification.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And we also have some other special revenue in the trash fund that you'll see next year. We're starting to collect the plastic bag fee. We have $700 that we might have to spend, interest earning, stuff like that. So kind of a few other things on top of that too.
All right, any other questions on this item? Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt resolution 2023-35, amending the 2023 budget to appropriate funds in the general fund, conservation trust fund, capital projects fund, and the trash fund for the capital projects, equipment purchase services, and special projects.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none. Deb, would you please poll council?
Counselor Cry?
Aye.
Counselor Miller?
Yes.
Counselor Bremen?
Yes.
Counselor Purser?
Yes.
Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, with that, we're gonna move into our second legislative hearing. It's the 2024 annual budget. And we've got our Assistant City Manager, Shannon Vossen, here to present on this one.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Shannon Vossen, Assistant City Manager. This is our fourth and final formal budget presentation on the 2024 draft budget. When I was in the back, I did hear Councilor Williams say I only had 5 seconds, so that concludes my presentation.
Well played, sir.
I do think though, I'll be able to get through this rather quickly because we've talked a lot about these items over the past several months. Before I hop into my PowerPoint, I just want to point out that I did include a document with the cover sheet that says notable budget changes following the first draft of the budget. Notable might be a strong word. These are pretty minor changes in kind of the grand scheme of things, but I'd be happy to go over any of these changes if you'd like to. Some of the big ones that you see is the change for Public Works, we added $165,000 to the engineering line item of Mountain Water Properties to go under contract for the breach, for the design and planning of breaching Reservoir 2. We also had some pretty significant increases in our liability and property insurance. So you'll see that in our non-departmental budget. Next year, we're slated to pay $243,000 for insurance. That's up from $175,000 from last year. It's getting more and more expensive to operate like a police department. Some other things have come up. So that's what you kind of see, some of those significant changes there. Other than that, not a lot, but I'd be happy to discuss any of these if you're interested before we move into our presentation. But of course, if you have any questions, we can always answer those as well. Any questions on changes?
All right, let's move into it.
Okay, great. As I was saying, this is our fourth and final budget presentation before the budget goes to adoption. A little overview of the presentation. We'll just briefly touch upon budget process recap and next steps. For the record, tonight we'll cover our economic health and development parts of the Fruita strategic plan, which mostly focus on our community development program, our economic development fund, marketing and promotion fund, not fun, although it is very fun, our housing authority fund, and then an overview of all of our funds as well. So for the record, just so everyone is aware, as is required by our charter, the city manager is required to submit a recommended budget to the city council for consideration. After that, we dive into very specific parts of the budget that kind of capture the overall expenses as a whole at the next several city council meetings. October 17th, we talked about core services and kind of issues and opportunities we're seeing across all funds. We also talked about capital projects and large scale infrastructure at that presentation as well. October workshop, this group discussed outside agency funding requests and a few other miscellaneous items. November 7th, we talked about quality of place, which includes parks and recreation, the general fund, the Fruita Community Center, things like our conservation trust fund. We also talked about community wellness and personnel and employee retention. Tonight, we'll touch upon the two items that I just discussed, but also open it up for public hearing to be continued at a future meeting. And then at our workshop, we have a final check-in with the city council as far as a workshop check-in. Last night, things got slightly complicated as far as our normal budget process. As you may have read, the state legislature went into special session over the weekend to address property taxes, rental assistance, and a few other items. And what came from that has made a few changes for our budget process. So as is required per state budget law, we are required to submit our mill levy to the county commissioners by December 15th, and the assessor is required to submit that to us before we can certify that mill levy. Last night, that was actually extended to January 3rd for the assessor to provide us with assessed valuations, and now we are required to adopt a budget and certify the mill levy by January 10th of next year. The bill that was passed, it's very similar to Proposition HH that just failed on the ballot. There are a few slightly different changes. One being that they increase the exemption on how much they'll knock off the top of assessed valuations for calculations. They decrease the residential assessment rate from 0.0765 to 0.76%. So a slight decrease there. And they also eliminated any backfill that local governments will receive if they have an assessed valuation change of year over year over 15%. If it changed, so we will not be getting any backfill from any action that the legislator did to reduce property taxes. So for residents, it will reduce their property tax bill come next year. For us, it's a little unclear how we should move forward because now we have new dates that's into the new fiscal year, and we won't know what our property tax will be until we get the mill levy certification, which may or may not be January, late December. I talked to the assessor's office today. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a hold of our new assessor. They do have a great management analyst, though. I talked to her for quite a while. She said the assessor was mostly with the county commissioners because their revenue is so much based on property tax, where ours is just one line item. But we're not 100% sure how to move forward yet. We could do two things. We could adopt the budget as is and kind of estimate what our property tax revenues will be, and then certify the mill levy after we get the assessed valuations from the assessor. Or we can postpone, continue our public hearing tonight to December 19th. Hopefully we have it by then. If not, then we'll have to schedule a special meeting in January. So I kind of put that as far as next steps, but Mike, is there anything you wanted to add on this topic?
Yes, thank you, Shannon. You know, some cities have already adopted their budget. Some cities have already scheduled their final hearing. So like Palisades already adopted their budget. Grand Junction, for example, has scheduled their final hearing, like our December 5th hearing would be for December 6th. As you know, with any public hearing, you can continue that hearing, which is actually what we do tonight, right? We open it, we take any comment, we continue it until typically the 5th. There's two thought processes, and there's not really a right or wrong. This is more of, we wanted to do some explaining to you all with what happened just last night, and kind of get a feel for what you feel most comfortable doing from a public standpoint, right? So we are not recommending tonight scheduling a special meeting in January. I think that would be something that only if we had to, and we continued a future meeting to that. One thing to keep in mind is, let's just hypothetically, if we went through our normal process and we approve everything on December 5th, and then we get the new valuation revenue numbers and they're slightly different, then we would have to do official action into next year sometime to just make similarly to a budget amendment. And we do that with other revenues. I mean, we're never exact on for every revenue that we estimate.
Mike, does that affect the mill levy the same way? You can't.
So
We
Right.
certify the mill levy at a later date.
yeah.
I was gonna say, because that's a little different than a budget.
And keep in mind, like, we haven't changed the mill levy rate for Margaret's been here for 45 years. It's never happened since she's been here. So the mill levy rate has not been changed. It's just that what we get from the county is the estimate. So all that would change in our budget is not that we'd have to take something out of the budget. It would just mean that we, with this change, we know we'll get more revenue than we've anticipated in the budget next year. We just don't know exactly how much more. And that amount would just change the amount we're spending in fund balance. Does that make sense? So right now we're spending more expenses than revenue next year as planned because of, taking money we've saved up in fund balance, $6.5 million for some of these needed capital projects. So it could just reduce that amount by 50,000 or 100,000 or somewhere. We don't know the number exactly, but
you're saying with this law that they just passed, we're gonna get more money as a city. Thought we were gonna get less. So that's where I'm confused, because I was thinking that
sorry,
because the state's gonna pay for that gap, correct?
but we budgeted conservatively in our estimates.
Purposely budgeted lower because I anticipated HH may pass. So I budgeted lower and knowing that anything above and beyond that will just offset what we're spending out of fund balance. I think we're close. So we have calculations if HH would have passed, what that would be. And I think I'm short maybe $30,000, $40,000, but we don't know.
It's what they passed last night. CML gave a really good summary of it, but there's so many scenarios mixed into it. So the reason why nobody knows the number is because the reason why they extended deadlines for counties is because it's going to take some time to calculate all these values. So we could go as planned. The other option is tonight. Tonight is this first reading. The action you take is to continue to a date. In the packet, that recommended date was the 5th. We have from the county, they've said that they potentially will, they hope at best to have these values by about the 15th of December. So it'd be really close to the time for the 19th. Now, without this change and what happened yesterday, every year when we do the budget, when we're coming to that first Tuesday in December, it's usually the week prior that we get these numbers from the county. So we're always kind of hoping we're getting, it's always close, right? So you have a couple things. You could stay the course, and then when we get to the 5th, we have more information and we could make a recommendation that we continue to the 19th. you could decide tonight to just schedule the continuance for the 19th of December. And then if for any reason there was a need to schedule a special meeting in January, you know, that could be considered at that time. And even if you could do, our recommendation would be one of those two. We schedule the continuance till the 5th. We have more information than one night, and you have the ability to continue it. Or if we want to just try and wait until we get the new values, then we could just schedule it tonight for the 19th, and you're making potentially one less continuance if that makes sense.
Does everybody think?
The 19th.
Yeah.
All right.
The 5th is our light meeting. The 19th is not.
No, it's being silly.
Okay.
The 5th, we got one item going. That's
The 19th, we have the Enoch Lake and some other things as well, but.
great. And hopefully next time we talk, I mean, at our workshop next week, hopefully we'll have some additional clarification. We tried to reach out to the partners we could, but no one's had time to digest yet. So we figured we'd just bring it to the attention of this group because we're going to be off of our normal schedule.
We're having this conversation. I forgot to open up for public comment.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Oh,
No,
you're
no,
still
no.
going.
Yeah.
Middle of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no worries. Great.
So this
Well-
won't have any impact on departments or anything like that. They're still in
No,
terms of
as long
projects moving forward.
if approved this year, it won't. If
But if
approved
we do
next
it
year,
next year,
it
then
could-
it's a
you
challenge.
know, it could be a week or 2 or 3 before you could actually start certain things, right? I think it defaults to 1/12 of your budget that you can start with. So some of those larger contracts that will be starting at the very beginning of the year would be a few weeks late, essentially.
Gotcha.
Yeah, charter says if we don't pass by the first day, we'll prorate it. So we'll get 1/12 of our budget in January. Great. Well, on to the actual presentation now that I got a little sidetracked, but appreciate your input on that. Economic health and development. So for this, we'll go over community development, but also highlight some of our smaller funds as well. Year in review through October. I think this group knows very well. It's been a very busy year for community development. In addition to what you see here, we have our first LIHTC project that is well under construction. We have we create a housing authority to help out with that project and future projects. We also have the beach economic development project that's going through. It's been a busy year, and our community development department has also been very busy. Year in review, we've issued 611 planning clearances. That also includes building permits, general planning clearances, and new residential planning clearances as well. Out of that 611, 84 is for new residential. We had 10 for multifamily, 62 for single family, 5 townhouses, and 7 mobile homes as well. So we're starting to see some diversity in those planning clearances as well. 10 multifamily, that seems like quite a bit. I could be wrong, no, for planning clearances, but yeah, it's really encouraging to see. Additionally, we've had 14 commercial planning clearances, and this can be anything from interior remodels, basically any investment in existing buildings or utility upgrades. We've also issued 104 short-term rental permits as well. This year, we also started the Fruita Building Inspections Division, and like everything else, they've been very busy. Overall, it's been well received by the building community. I think it's been great to have a one-stop shop for your planning clearances and also get your inspections done as well. I always enjoy walking by the planning window and hearing someone, "I need Jen," or "I need this," and because they're able to get that face-to-face customer service and a lot of times same-day customer service as well. So I think it's been a great addition. In our budget, we had $100,000 in revenues estimated for the first year of our building inspections. We've already doubled that this year. We've already received $200,000, and I don't think we'll be slowing down anytime soon with that. Overall highlights for community development, our expenses are expected to decrease 56% overall. This is mostly due to the land that we acquired this year, 169 South Mulberry, and also the property surrounding the old Fruita Lagoons. We put that into community development. We have a land acquisition line item in there and an economic development line item. So you'll see a big increase, I think 1.7 million in the final budget, and then it'll decrease back to its normal levels due to that. Not a lot of other highlights. Apart from that, we are increasing our property cleanup line item in code compliance to 20,000 to help with more of those projects that occur throughout the year, and no staffing changes in there. And I think that is about it for community development. Moving on to some of our smaller funds, our economic development fund. The only change from the prior year is that we are increasing our contribution to the Grand Junction Economic Partnership. We're going from $10,000 to $15,000 overall. And we also have a small transfer of $5,100 to the Housing Authority Fund for any legal expenses publishing the Housing Authority may have next year. Housing program goals. This is straight from the Housing Authority bylaws and some of the other stuff that we've been able to achieve. And that is to assist the city in attaining its commitment to create 108 affordable units over the next 3 years. This is the Proposition 123 goal that has been set to the city of Fruita. And great news is that the Fruita Muse project consists of 50 units that count towards that goal. And also we might have more projects next year that could definitely count towards that goal overall. Continuing on our Housing Authority Fund, you will see that we have $50,000 in legal fees as part of expenses and revenues. Again, this is legal fees we anticipate if certain projects move forward will actually be reimbursed by the developer. So you'll see it on the revenue side and on the expense side. And the Housing Authority budget can be adopted as part of our normal budget process. And the actual Housing Authority can also adopt their budget next year as well. But for this one, we can adopt it as a city council, make that contribution, transfer from the Economic Development Fund, and then the Housing Authority can adopt it as well. I'm just blowing right through all these smaller funds. Any questions to that yet? Marketing and promotion, the FTAC. I'm sure this group of members, Johanna, Kayla, and I presented in depth earlier this year at a workshop to discuss all the projects that we've worked on year to date. It's been a super successful year for the FTAC. You know, we tried some new things this year. We brought in some influencers to help with our photo video assets. That's been a great addition. We've got a ton of content. If you don't know, you can go to Fruita's Flickr, and any business in Fruita can use those photos for any commercial purposes. And we've added a ton to that. In fact, we're pretty much all out of space on our Flickr, and we'll have to add more later. This picture on our left, we brought out Adrian McDonald to run the Rimrock Run. And he ran the half marathon a couple weeks ago, but he was able to go out to Devil's Canyon and get some trail running footage the day before. So ton of new content. We have a ton of running content, trail running. We also have downtown shots, a lot of the local businesses. We hit a lot of the special events as well. It's been a good year for advertisement assets moving forward. Additionally, the FTAC is interested in funding more special events than ever. So in this year's budget, we have that. We have, I think, $42,000 total for special events. We are funding a bunch of new special events as well. One of them being the winter concert that this group talked about to host sometime January, February. We have the Kids Adventure Games, which was a brand new event this year out at Highline Lake, which was a success. And a few other of those new events, which has been great additions. Rome Fest Fruita, funding that for the first time next year. So a lot of good stuff. That might have been Zoom.
Sound effect.
Right?
Rome Fest Fruita. Woo.
Rome Fest Fruita, yeah. I think that might be a thumbs up that someone's saying. Other highlights from the Marketing and Promotion Fund, you will see some new personnel expenses associated with that fund. We did bring on a communications and marketing coordinator a few months ago, and he will help out with Go Fruita marketing, social media, and also work on our Parks and Rec and general fund or community center fund stuff as well. So he's been doing great work. Can't wait for you guys to see the new activity guide. It looks awesome. I think it should be done relatively soon, but he's been doing great work, and he'll start working on tourism next year as well. Budget highlights, additional budget highlights for the marketing promotion fund. Our lodging tax continues to increase. At this rate, we're projecting of about $200,000 overall. In the budget this year, we had 150,000. We've already exceeded that, as you can see in the financial reports that you just adopted on consent. So lodging tax continues to perform very well year over year. This is going to be our third straight year of breaking our records for lodging tax. And even when you adjust for inflation, those numbers are higher than previous years as well. We are spending into the red for the marketing promotion fund. I did set aside $13,000 to fund the reprinting of an abbreviated Go Fruita visitor guide. So this is something that's requested by our welcome centers all over the state. We'll print a much shorter, we'll redesign, reprint it, much shorter visitor guide with QR codes to our new website that they can take and learn more from there. We also are going to launch new short-term rental compliance software as well. And that will help with lodging tax collections, but also monitoring compliance of short-term rentals overall. So fund balance for marketing promotion fund, very healthy, probably well over 300,000 by the end of the year. Keep on trying to spend it down, but it keeps on exceeding projections. So it's kind of where we're at. On the other side of the 3% economic development fund, when we do have projects next year, whether it's the beach or a different project, we can definitely pull from those resources when needed. I will stop there for questions. And if you want to open up this agenda item up for public hearing, then go into the all funds. Thank you.
Shannon. All right, with that, we're going to open this item up to public comments. So is there anybody in the audience that'd like to speak on this item? All right, hearing none, we're going to close public comment and bring it back to council. And who wants to start with questions? Matthew? He's made eye contact, so I guess that's like, yep.
So I'm not going to go down the level of errands. Question though on housing authority. So we can, I mean, as council, we appropriate those funds, but is there a deadline to when the housing authority actually has to, as the housing authority, adopt their budget, its budget?
No, the bylaws say that a budget has to be submitted to the Fruita City Council during our normal budget calendar. So I kind of feel like this meets that requirement. But so as soon as our budget is adopted, I think the Housing Authority can adopt shortly thereafter. No.
Shannon, is that part of your next slides?
No, that was on.
You
prior
went,
one.
okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm just confused because it's the housing authority doesn't say, here's how much money we need. Go to city council and say, city council says yes or no.
Right.
This is kind of different than normal where city council says, here's how much you get.
Right.
Housing authority then says, okay.
I think this is a unique.
So this is our,
Make sure
Oh, yeah.
well, I think you bring up a good point. This is our first time.
Right.
And when we studied how other places did it, this is how they do it. And so we felt like this would be the best way to go, even though, you know, what you're saying is maybe what might have been of mind, but it's not required or not written directly, I guess you could say. So we looked at other cities that have where the council is on both sides. And during the budget process, now we can schedule a special meeting for the housing authority as well if you would like. But essentially what we've done is we've just done the estimates from this year and put it in there because it's pass-through funds. So and what I mean by that is we're estimating when developers work with the housing authority, they have to pay the attorney fees for the housing authority.
Right.
So we have a very small amount for the administrative legal fees that aren't reimbursable, and then we have the reimbursable fees in there on both sides. So
I was gonna say, because like when the Muse starts paying us back for that loan that we did,
Right.
that's gonna go directly into the housing authority budget, which is, so
Mhm.
that would change, according to what Matthew's saying, that would kind of change it because we're not getting, it's not gonna be in the same budget as what this is when we start receiving some revenues from some of those.
As city council, you appropriate those dollars. So none of those dollars can be spent until they're appropriated. It's kind of like,
yeah, they can't have it till you.
yeah,
The housing authority can't have those dollars till the council.
Until the city-
appropriates.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do they pay it into the housing authority fund, correct? It
Uh,
doesn't go to the city, it goes direct.
And the Housing Authority Fund is subject to your appropriation and approval. Yeah, as the city council. Yeah, a lot of places you'll see Clear Creek County is one that I pulled. It's just they adopt the Housing Authority Fund as part of their overall budget process. Yeah. But nothing prohibits the Housing Authority, that group, from adopting the budget after it's been.
That's year
Right.
one. What happens in year two? Is it the same process year two? Or does the housing authority then?
Or does the housing authority?
Or does it change to where the housing authority submits the budget? I'm just used
Yeah.
to it, and I know I'm going down a rabbit hole, so
Oh, no.
I'm
No,
just
I
used to an
think-
organization saying, here's what
Right.
Yeah.
budget and having somebody else approve.
I think it's a great question. I think if you all would prefer to put on your housing authority hat in the future and have a meeting to make a recommendation to the city council prior to where we are in the budget process now, then we can definitely do that. But it still takes, no matter what the timing is of the housing authority, then it takes action of the council to appropriate it. So it's really up to you all from a process standpoint.
So I view a budget as a moral document. So if we were as a housing authority, if that group says, here's how much money we have coming in, then that's purely just a revenue side of a budget. There's nothing on the expense side. And I would think as a housing authority, that authority would want to say, with these revenues coming in, here's the plan for those revenues moving forward. So the housing authority can go to the public and saying, yes, we have these revenues coming in from loans, and here's what we anticipate doing with them.
I think that makes complete sense in the future. Yeah.
And in this case, those are being recommended by our staff, which are the same.
But what Matthew's saying is that if we're talking about, I know we've got in the budget in the next 3 years, we have to have 108, homes that meet that criteria. So what are we using the funds for? Track that or to?
Right, because right now, otherwise, all we have is a budget that has revenue coming in. And there's nothing in there that says, here's what we're planning on doing with that money.
Is it legal funds?
The agreement.
I guess we
with it
haven't.
is Going towards projects already.
Right.
Anything coming in right now is already allocated to something else. Already. Yes.
No, we've got the legal money, which is already allocated.
Right.
But the loan repayments,
When does that start coming in?
That won't start until.
that's what, 15 years.
But again, the process.
Currently it would be like simple interest on the loans prior to giving, do you know what I mean? Like
I would anticipate
we receive, we give to them.
when we have more activity going on.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I will admit, going into this, being the first time, and we haven't had a housing authority meeting since we took care of the last bit of business. It wasn't like top of mind on our end. That's not a great answer, but at the same time, I think going into the future, when we actually will have money coming in, I think it really should happen, as Councilor Bremen mentioned. I think going into next year, if you recall, we've applied for grants, and if we're able to receive some of those grants that would come, whether some of them would go through the city, if potentially we were able to, then we're setting a housing authority meeting, we're amending that budget for new revenue and identifying what those expenses would be. I don't know do you have anything else to add?
Give him the microphone.
can't hear you.
Yeah.
He's whispering. He doesn't want you to hear us.
So while they're discussing, you will notice that the Housing Authority Fund, I pulled up my budget. This is the only fund that says it's a component unit. Component unit for the purposes of our finances is something that is carried, it show up on our financial statements, but there's different types of components used, but this is a blended one to where the city and the housing authority kind of share those same resources. So nothing can be done without approval of this group appropriating the dollars.
Revenue or anything like that.
No.
Okay.
If you, one thought could be that if you wanted to have a housing authority meeting before, and it sounded like you all are going to schedule this continued for the 19th. You could schedule as part of the agenda to break out of council into an item as the housing authority and discuss the budget and make a recommendation, and then go back into the council as well at the December 5th meeting if you'd like.
It's not fun, but I think that's for transparency and process. I think that would be appropriate.
Process moving forward.
Mhm.
And you have a couple options with that. What you're used to is we've scheduled housing authority meetings prior to the council meeting. I don't recall if we've shared with you, but if you watch the Mesa County Board of Commissioners, they wear various hats in many different groups. And so on their actual agenda, it'll be adjourn as, city council, and then, as if it was an item. So that's an option as well, like placing it as an item, but you're actually adjourning as council, going into housing authority, then adjourning as housing authority, coming back into council, or you can just have it separately ahead of time as well. It's up to you.
I think we have, don't we have the fire department tour that night?
Yeah.
So doing it ahead of time would be hard, is what I'm saying.
Right. So you're suggesting doing it as part of the meeting.
Well,
And
we
they're
have a conflict in schedule, so we would.
and they're open. I mean, if you had to reschedule that, they're really open for any prior to. It's up to you all with the fire department. So if you had.
I think doing it as part of the meeting would be fine.
I do too.
I'm good with that.
All right, then let's put it as an agenda item as part of the meeting. We got mostly thumbs up, so we're good. With majority thumbs up, we're good. All right, other
I'm done with
questions?
that rabbit hole. Thank you.
All right, well, I had the same question, so I appreciate that. Any other questions on the budget?
I wanted to ask about the planning department, and we said we had talked about just briefly. You said you expected 100,000.
Yep.
We made 200,000, which is obviously great.
Yeah.
Years prior, when we didn't run it ourselves and wasn't in-house, we obviously received some sort of funds. Comparatively, how successful are we doing? I mean, it was a great idea, and obviously it's running smooth and everything.
Right.
I'm just hard numbers on it. Did we make a better profit this way as a city, or
Yeah, so in years past, when contracting with Mesa County, they actually assessed the fees and collected the fees as a whole throughout the whole county. And so the money never came to us. We never received any revenue on that at all.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we contracted them to do it. The fees didn't come through us. They were at point of sale, essentially. They would go to Mesa County, pay the fee, get the service, and Mesa County kept the revenue. If you recall, when we were trying to do some analysis prior to doing it, they could never break down and give us what those revenues were. So we were backing into those revenues by just the mere fact that typically when you're getting a building permit, it's not exact, but you're getting a land use zoning permit or land use permit, through our process. So we were doing some estimates of that. But we don't really have the accurate data of what they were collecting.
But we weren't getting anything
we
anyway,
weren't getting
so it's a
anything.
win-win all the way.
Oh, we have more cost,
Right.
Sure.
It's more than what we're bringing in revenues, but we knew that up front.
but the goal was at 70, I think it was 75% was the goal.
Yeah. And it wasn't a full year. Keep that in mind. I mean, we started at the end of February. February.
So we're
20th.
on track of what we thought, and actually even better.
Well beyond, yeah. And it
Okay.
seems like customer service has been much better. Everything I've heard, very
The turnaround seems amazingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for revenue, we're double what we estimated. Again, that estimate was slightly in the dark, but making the best estimate we could. But we're ahead on the estimates, but we're far ahead on the service turnaround time, which was the other big reason, or the big reason to do it. So.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Matthew.
And I apologize because I didn't have a time to do a deep dive. Do we need is there something in that budget in terms of Enoch Lake and those anticipated monies and being set aside? And I apologize because I didn't do a deep dive to look at that.
Any potential revenue from conveyance of the property? No.
Right, so is the idea that when that deal is solidified, then we make an adjustment? Or should we earmark that? I know we had talked the money coming in being set aside for potentially specific projects, for stuff that all of Fruita citizens could use.
So we didn't put it in next year's budget. Currently, you have a hearing on December 19th. And if we were to put it in, then we're prejudging your decision in that ordinance.
Good point.
And it takes 30 days after the sale. So
Okay.
so what would happen is like you see during the year, whenever we have unanticipated or higher than anticipated revenue, you'll have to do a budget amendment to amend that revenue when you can then set it for a purpose as well. So,
And I did not think about the
It's
fact
a
that if
great
we put
question.
it in on December 19th, it
right.
assumes a certain outcome.
Yeah.
So I did not think that.
And it's another, being an ordinance process, after the final hearing, you have 30 days for that ordinance to take.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
And I'm not hearing any, so we do have a motion that I think we all agree to.
Goes to Baron whispering.
Looking at him, just waiting. You know, he wants to be here so bad right now.
So we need a motion to
There.
continue this into the December 19th meeting. So who,
Who has it up?
I move we continue this meeting until December 19th.
Second?
all right, we got a first and a second. Last chance for questions or comments. All right, hearing none, Deb, would you please poll council?
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Bremen,
Yes.
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, thanks, Shannon.
Still have half a presentation.
Oh, yes, wait, which one are you on?
My apologies. I debated putting that at the end, but I'll breeze right through this.
Are we not supposed to be done yet?
Were you a little premature on that?
No.
All right.
No.
We're doing an all funds overview now, so.
Exact order as detailed in the presentation.
Just adding one more in because he wanted to keep it to 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Oh, for
we're
sure.
over that. I'm just,
I will rush through this as part of our
This is just a recap because
yeah.
we wanted to see the overall.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Let's
can
see
I
it.
just tell you guys what I'm doing?
Oh no. Fair enough. So super quickly, as part of our normal budget presentations, I provide a quick summary of the all funds. This is usually provided at this meeting due to some requests from the city council was provided much earlier. So again, I can quickly go through this. Just quick budget snapshot. When you exclude transfers, our overall budget next year is right around 33.8 million. That's an increase of 12% from the prior year, all on capital projects and capital equipment. And our revenues are 27.3 million overall. So there's a deficit between the two. But again, all of that is going to be spent on capital projects and equipment, which we are allowed to spend those monies on as per our approved Tabor ballot amendment. Diving into revenues, 27.3 million. Again, this is a slight decrease from last year, mostly due to the completion of capital projects. We're completing a number of things out at the wastewater reclamation facility. We're completing other projects throughout town that receive grant funding. So that kind of cuts down our revenues overall as a whole. But tax revenues are all up. Miscellaneous revenues are all up. We're seeing some good interest earnings on some of those, especially in the general fund as well. And charges for services are estimated to increase overall. This bar graph just shows you kind of difference between budget and actuals for the past several years. For 2 years now, we've been trying to spend into our fund balance, which we haven't been able to do for miscellaneous reasons. But next year we have it set aside to where we'll spend about $6 to $7 million if all things go well, and we certainly hope they do on some of those projects that we need to achieve. Tax revenues are our biggest source of revenue. Our biggest source of revenue is the city sales tax. And as was detailed in our financial reports, It looks like we are well ahead of our 2022 collections. I think 10% is what we're trending at overall. Seeing really good gains in retail, food and beverages, and also utilities. So we're expecting our city sales tax will go up. County sales tax relatively flat, but we'll anticipate that to remain flat next year. What all this equates to before we get any sort of additional property tax estimates is 13.9 million of the 27 is just from tax revenues, which is an increase of 2% from the prior year. All of these charts are in the all fund summary, so I'll go through these quickly. This just kind of breaks down out of that 13.9, what's city sales tax, what's county sales tax, what's property tax, et cetera. Again, each year we can continue to see increases in tax collections overall, and we expect that trend to increase next year compared to this year's budget overall. Intergovernmental revenues are any revenues that we receive from other government agencies. The biggest source of this pie is grant revenue, which is expected to decrease overall. We do have $2.7 million set aside in grant revenue for projects next year. And here's a chart kind of laying out all of the grants that we anticipate receiving for next year for our projects. Biggest one being 1.7 for South Mesa Street. And then we have Kingsview Lift Station that will use American Rescue Plan dollars for $500,000 for downtown sewer improvements, and some other smaller grants that will be moving forward as well. Charges for services. These are utility charges, sewer, trash, irrigation water, and FCC rates as well. So we expect an increase of 5%. That's a combination of actual rate changes, but also growth that we're anticipating that we will see. Sewer rates are expected to increase 3% from 51 to 52, 55. Our trash rate is going to increase 9% from $17.70 to $18.90 per month for the normal rate. And then at the Fruita Community Center, we have a $1 increase included in the budget. Miscellaneous revenues are things like interest earnings, transportation impact fees, et cetera. We are expecting to see increases on those as well. Our interest earnings are roughly right around 5%. So good earnings on those. But again, our goal is to spend those down, not just have them sitting in the bank, because we have a lot of capital projects we'd like to complete. Moving over to the expense side, this pie chart kind of just shows the breakdown of all of the expenses overall. 55% of our budget goes to operations. So that's things like salaries, benefits, supplies, purchase professional services, purchase property services, anything that we pay for before capital, and debt. 39% to capital, which is your largest expenditure. And we have $2 million in debt for the Fruita Community Center and the wastewater reclamation facility. Again, as I like to visualize things multiple times in the budget, says the same thing. This kind of just shows the history of the last couple of years of operations versus capital expenses. Operating expenses are budgeted to increase 11% over the budget, 14% over estimated actuals. We have 18.4 million. Again, this kind of shows the breakdown between personnel services, purchase services, supplies. That can be things like utilities as well. So we've seen some increases in there.
See that in a pie chart?
Oh, it's in there. When I think about consolidating the budget, I might start with the charts. Our biggest expense in operating expenses is personnel, 10.6 million. This has kind of been going on a lot, but people are asking about ratio of actual personnel expenses to total budget. If you include your capital expenses, your transfers were less than 50%, which I think is we're pretty lean as far as that ratio. You see some that are 50, maybe even 80% on the personnel side, but that's something to look to in the future. So yeah, out of personnel, we have $10.6 million overall. Purchase services, 5.1 million. Those are attorney's fees, professional development, engineering, the Reservoir 2, breach planning and study, things like that you pay professional for. Other operating expenses, supplies, 1.9 million, which is, utilities, tools and equipment. We also have special projects of 287,000. That includes increases to fireworks display, downtown artwork. We added 30,000 to add art, murals at the Mulberry space, and also do some additions to the Heart of Fruita. And contingency is any unexpected expense that may come up during the year that you as City Council can approve. at any time during the year. It's just kind of a funding that's available if things come up, whether it's unexpected or unanticipated. Our largest expenses is capital. We have 13.2 million overall. Out of that, 1.2 million is for equipment and 12 million is for capital projects. Ooh, this did not turn out that well. I apologize. I swear I looked at this before. These charts are in the all fund summary. The one on the left, which is much larger than it normally is for equipment.
Font sizes.
They're definitely not. So that's what I was going to refer.
It's harder to read.
Yeah. Yeah. I do apologize. Everything on the left is new equipment, and then everything on the right is capital projects. Again, biggest expense for the city is just capital items, those large scale projects, 6 million for 19 road construction. We have 2 million for the South Mesa Street improvements, 700,000 for Fruita Community Center improvements, et cetera. Last couple slides, as we were discussing earlier, we are spending into the red for a number of funds, and that is intentional. We do have budget policies that we do have to follow. The first one and the most important one being that we have to adopt a balanced budget, but at the same time, we can spend excess revenues that we have on capital and capital equipment. So out of the 6.7 million that we are planning to spend, over revenues, 6.4 of that is in the general fund. We have 400,000 in the community center fund, 13,000 in marketing, and a few other smaller items as well. That is it. Any questions?
Do you have any questions on that overview? Anybody want to see anything different in the next one? Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
what's our FTE count?
I think we're right at like 82. So with the changes next year, we'll probably be 84. Actually, no, 86. So we have 4 new employees coming, 2 of which are conversions of existing part-time employees. So the hours are pretty similar by the time you take 2 seasonals and make it 1 full-time. But yeah, so 4 additional positions.
Part-time, for what, 100?
And that's not full-time equivalent. If you were, that's just full-time,
Full-time, sorry.
the number he's given you. And then we have the part-time.
0.1 million. That includes both I don't remember, it was 10 point something.
Yeah, that includes all the part-timers as well, which part-timers, because of a few years back when they changed the definition, that includes everything from your typical part-time work employees, but then your officials and all of our lifeguards, all different. So that number is actually pretty high.
Part-time employees do we have?
So
That's right at, pulling it up.
full-time equivalents. Thank you. I missed the E on that is 127.31. So out of the 86, the rest is part-time, and we go based upon hours. So the normal calendar year being 2,080 hours. So for like lifeguards, we have 27,000 hours just for lifeguards. We have an additional few thousand for head lifeguards, et cetera. So you can see it all in this hours chart in the all fund summary on page 30.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
All right. Always appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Shannon? You're done now, right?
You did great.
All right, with that, we're gonna move into our city manager's report.
I hope you have an awesome Thanksgiving this week.
Great report. My favorite report of the whole year. Thank you, sir.
All right, then let's move into council reports and actions. So the first one on there, we said we're gonna keep on here, establishing a committee to review possible localism board. I don't think we received any other application.
There's one in the packet. Yeah.
Okay. How come I didn't see that?
Miss Allie Daniel.
All right,
think we would all happily thumbs up that.
all right. Do we have to vote on that to appoint her to that?
Yeah, you voted on the last, so I would vote to appoint.
All right, do we have a motion then to approve?
I move to approve Ally as a member of our localism committee.
A second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Mike, would you please poll council?
Yes, where did we leave off? Okay, Counselor Cry?
Oh,
Counselor Miller,
yes.
sorry, Counselor Bremen,
Yes.
Counselor Purser, Counselor Williams. All right, so motion, yeah, thank you.
I do have a question, not about Holly, but like, when do we want to stop doing this? Because already the discussion was a great discussion, and like jumping in, it's maybe gonna be a trick for somebody new. So at one point, when do we stop? Is that where we stop?
Yeah, when you're at like, you're one meeting in now, but when you're 3 meetings in or 2 meetings in, or yeah.
And Ally's ability to jump in, but I don't know how many more we could have jump in late. But I think you're onto something there for sure. I think.
The question is, the question I'm hearing is, do we want to cut it off now?
Yeah, good.
Because how many do we have on there? 7?
That makes me.
8? Okay.
Yeah, that's good for
I
everybody.
think.
I think it's good.
So then we won't have to add this to future meetings and we can close that.
Great.
Do we have a timeline on when they're gonna come back with their ideas, or is that just kind of up in the air at this point?
The estimation was 4 meetings.
Right.
Oh, okay, good.
So depending on how, and they're meeting once a month approximately.
Well,
Well.
we'll see.
all right.
Yeah, with holidays.
I'll talk to you more
For the
about
holidays, yeah.
more about this at on our reports.
Okay, perfect. All right. Yeah, let's go into our reports. All right, because we're on council reports and action. Before we move into executive session, let's go through that. So since we're talking about that and Janine has the floor, you might as well go right into it.
Yeah, so we did have our first localism committee meeting right after the Downtown Advisory Board meeting last Wednesday, and it was fantastic. It was a great discussion, and Ciara did a great job leading it. And then it went also in all sorts of unexpected already like thoughts. And so it's going to be really interesting, and cool to see how they like sift it all out. I'm really anxious to see what comes back to us, honestly. So it'll be great. It was good. The Downtown Advisory Board meeting, like I said, was right before that. We discussed the holiday lighting event, Small Business Saturday and Holiday Lighting Event, which Sarah emailed you all and invited you to. And it's 5:30 at Circle Park, even though Mark wishes it wasn't. Everybody be really careful crossing the streets, okay? So we can not make Mark's worst dreams come true. Let's make him a happy person.
Worst dreams. Worst nightmares.
Sorry about
that.
Also, we have the opportunity as council and mayor members to help serve hot chocolate at that if you want to. Really, I think people are going to be making their own hot chocolate. So I have no idea. You could just stand and greet at the hot chocolate or whatever. But I was asked to please put that out to you all. So
Did you mean by serve drink? Is that what we get to
hot
drink hot
chocolate, you can drink it yourself. Yes.
I'll sign up for that.
Where will that be?
Also at Circle Park.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And there's going to be this great countdown and
It was really cool last.
all the good things. And yeah, we did move it to Circle Park instead of Mulberry Plaza just for the effect.
Yeah.
Because, well, 2 of you guys were already at Circle Park last year and it was, I think, way better for you.
It was
So,
incredible. Yeah.
Really cool.
yeah. So there's that. And that is going to be the Downtown Advisory Board's like final
Hurrah.
hurrah. Like I mentioned last time, I do want to like at some point acknowledge all of like at one of our council meetings, acknowledge all of the members that have been part of that board throughout the 11 or 12, whatever it was, 11 years since its existence. So that's that. And I had a great arts and culture board meeting also. And we talked about like next year possibilities, and there were lots of good ideas at that. And the Livability Commission meeting was fantastic. They're always just a great group of people. And Shannon, do you have anything to I don't know. They just went through kind of what we were like all of the people that they've already talked about and then looking to what to do next year along those lines. And along those lines, I think I have 3 boards and I think come to the point where I probably need to pass one along. So I've asked Amy about taking on the Livability Commission since she lost the planning and zoning. And so starting in January, I don't know what the process of that is, but if
We'd have to point it as a council. Wouldn't we do a motion on that to appoint or to change that?
okay, so if everyone feels comfortable with that, if we can do that, then in January, Amy could take.
Well, I thought James wanted to arm wrestle for that one.
No,
What?
no, James did not want to do that.
Amy has one at this point, and so she's been asking for
You-
another, but
All you,
Is
buddy.
everybody good? Is everybody good with Amy? Because we just need a motion.
Are you good with me?
Moving over to
Wait,
Broadly
do we need
in
to
general?
move to
Yeah, we need a motion.
Amy to take over the livability liaison position
in January.
In January.
in January.
Right, we have a first. We have a second.
Can I second my
Yes.
own thing? Second.
All right, we got a first and a second. Any other comments? All right, hearing none. Deb, would you please poll council?
Counselor Bremen,
Yes.
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Cry.
Aye.
Counselor Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
So with that, I'll make my last appearance in December and pass that along to them. And I'm so grateful to have been part of that board. Or commission. They're really amazing. But
He just wants to play more pinochle or whatever.
right.
Right. One lesson was definitely not enough.
All right, anything else?
That's it.
All right, James.
I don't have anything. I do want to, I wanted to
Wait, you
take
said
a
you didn't
minute.
have anything.
All right, never mind. No, I did want to
Second.
take a second. It's a little different than anything normally that I'd say, but I'm not sure that I think it's Tina Ross. Is she the one that does all the planning? And I've watched Tina over the past like 4 or 5 years, just give her heart and soul to in the springtime, making those plants just grow, and they're amazing. And just the last couple of weeks alone, I'll be walking my wife to her car, and I see Tina just down on her hands and knees digging in that dirt. And I just wanted to commend her and just bring that up and just acknowledge that Tina is just a fantastic member, I believe, of the team. I think she does phenomenal work, and I just thought that I would put that out there. It's been nice to watch her grow those flowers over the past 4 years, and all downtown is definitely benefiting from it. So
Yeah, it's definitely more than a job for her. It's a
it
passion.
really is, and
She
and
does.
and I don't know how many of
It's
you guys
awesome.
have noticed it, but gosh, she puts her heart and soul in it, and I just wanted to bring her up and recommend that,
Thank you.
you know, just that she's awesome.
You
And
should
that's
write-
it.
You should write up the monthly.
I'll let some. I know someone that writes them really good.
The staff does the award thing
Yeah.
for you can submit it.
I could nominate
Yeah,
her.
you can nominate it for an employee.
So I can do that right now. I can nominate her for
Yeah,
that.
it's
know what-
Tina Hancock.
Oh, it is Tina. I was wondering because I didn't think it was Tina Ross, because that's a different Tina.
There is a Tina.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that Tina, but it's, you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And just.
Yeah.
Well, good. No, what I was thinking, yeah, I didn't think that was the right position, but
No,
if
you're
that,
right.
if that is a thing that we could nominate her for, what was that you were saying?
Well, they
The
do that, the
employee.
departments nominate.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
if you
think
guys would
this
consider her, I
commendation
would,
is easy for us to
yeah.
happen. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for clarifying that, Mark, because I didn't know her last name.
And we nominate the wrong person.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. She's like, flowers, yeah.
All right, Ken.
My meetings are forthcoming, but in the same vein as James, acknowledging people is doing outstanding work. I would like to say that Amy does an amazing job positively engaging with people, naysayers in our community. I've seen it online. I've seen it in real life. People talk smack a lot of times from an ignorant place. And my inclination is to be like, and just going about my day, but not you. And you turn it around and you're able to get people to go, oh, okay, I've changed my mind. And so thanks for doing all that.
You're here. Cheers.
Yeah,
Amy.
that's.
Thank
sweet
you.
to
That's
that,
very
for
sweet.
So
sure.
can we add her
Thank
to
you.
that?
I don't need any.
Nothing else for me.
Well, then let's
Yeah, no,
move into
thank
Amy.
you. I don't have anything tonight. My
Just a
only thing
smile
was
and a
that
positive, you know.
we did have a very entertaining engagement at a local place, but
Yeah, no, that's all I've got.
All right, Matthew?
I would like to nominate Amy for writing all the proclamations. Because I've never seen it done quite that way, so. Yeah, you're right. Pat Shell
Second.
Silverstein, Dr. Seuss, somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
Way to have your own voice, and I think you should do all of them moving forward. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, all right, motion carries.
Oh, my God.
All right. I don't know what I have, so.
I got
Matthew.
nothing.
The only other one is, Mike, I want to appreciate, I had a local citizen call me about the train stuff and Mike's looking into it about the loud horns that go through here and what our options are as a city,
Well, I can tell you why that is,
why they're so loud.
because
It's a law.
no, it's because there have been horrific accidents there previously,
Yeah.
and I don't think that we're gonna get rid of loud horn noise.
Yeah, it is definitely a law that the railroad has to abide by that we can't change. They've had some programs in the past to a high dollar expense to the local cities where you can change the infrastructure of the railroad per their guidelines. Grand Junction went through some of that. But it's a tall task. I mean, it is a safety feature. And we were gonna learn a little bit more about that process with Grand Junction. All that the railroad has online is outdated, so it doesn't look as if, it's like apply by this date, but these are, way years back. So we were going to learn a little bit more about that because we get that complaint often, but at the same time, it was like at certain stops, so like $300,000 years ago that the city would have to pay. And then on the railroad's time frame, they could change some of that, but it's still, I mean, it's just part of the safety that's required of the railroad. Yeah.
Well, what I appreciate you letting council know is that we address even those concerns that we may or may not be able to do anything about. So I appreciate it. Giving me some more information so I can get back with that person. So, no, I do.
I lived a
appreciate it.
block away from the last like really, really bad accident that was right there. I'm okay with the horns. I'm cool with the horns.
Oh, but I think listening to our community, that's part of that
Oh,
job and then educating them back to, positive. I should have Amy talk to her, positively educate her. So, all right, that's all I have for tonight. So, with that, our next item is we've got 2 executive sessions to move into. So I need a motion, to move into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I move we move into move. Mr. Mayor, I try again. Move to convene into executive session for discussion of personnel matters under Colorado Revised Statute, Section 24-6-4024F, and not involving any specific employees who have requested discussion of the matter in open session, any member of this body or any elected official, the appointment of any person to fill an office of this body, an elected official, or personnel policies that do not require discussion of matters personal to particular employees, the municipal court judge's formal review.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Deb, would you please poll council?
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Counselor Cry.
Aye.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Bremen,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
All right, with that, and for our audience, we do move into executive session, which means that our regular meeting is over. And so this is closed to the public. Yes.
We got our.
You want, yeah, we got
All
them.
right, we're ready. All right, so we're in open meeting now.
I move to approve the 2-year personal service agreement and reappointment of Daniel Robinson as municipal judge for the city of Fruita.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Mike, you on poll council?
Yes, Counselor Bremen,
Yes.
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Counselor Cry, Counselor Miller.
Affirmative.
All right, vote.
I gotta write this down though, because I gotta give it to Deb. So who did the first?
No, I
I
was,
did the motion.
Oh, I'm
Jenny,
sorry, my
and the
bad.
second was Matthew or Amy.
Both of us. Pick one.
We'll do Amy because she's so positive.
My name is-
Community. All right, and that's 5.
Motion passes 5-0.
5-0. All right.
he's like a kid enjoying being in.
Right?
Yeah. All right.
You got the Ray Bradbury style going.
Since there's-
Survey says.
Since there's nothing else on our agenda, we'll adjourn at 9:30 PM.
Wow, that's.
Wow, yeah.